Hello friends! You're on the Infoport Psychology channel, and we continue to tackle one of the most troubling topics: why do women give some men a chance and others don't? We've already discussed how confidence, humor, and sincerity are important, and even the ability to end a conversation properly. You learned how to find your person and not be pushy. But today, we're taking it to the next level. What's in store for you in this part? How do you realize she's actually interested in talking? Why does tone of voice matter? How do you stop being afraid to approach first? How do you maintain interest after the first meeting? Why should you avoid games and manipulation in relationships? How do you deal with negative thoughts? And why is patience your best friend in communication? Imagine a situation. You start a conversation, everything's going perfectly, and suddenly, she loses interest. Something went wrong. Did it? Then this video is what you need. Put a like, subscribe to the channel Infoport Psychology, click on the bell, and stay with us until the end. Today will be honest, useful, and, as always, with a dose of humor. Let's go! Sometimes figuring out if a girl is interested in a conversation is like doing a crossword puzzle. Everything may look fine, but in her head she's signaling, please stop. But don't worry, friends, there are signs to help you know you're doing it right. And yes, if she's looking at her watch every 30 seconds, it's not because she urgently needs to check the time. It's a signal, when is this going to end? Signals that she is interested. She smiles and maintains eye contact. A smile is a good sign, especially if it is genuine. If a girl is looking at you and not at her phone or the door, you're on the right track. If her gaze is constantly drifting off to the side, she may be calculating how many steps it takes to get to the nearest exit. Her answers are long and meaningful. If she's really engaged in the conversation, her answers will be detailed, with details and examples. This is clearly better than the standard yes, no, or If her answers are shorter than the title of your favorite movie, she's probably bored. She's asking questions. It's a sign she's interested in learning more about you. Like, how did you come to this hobby? Or, are you always so cool at telling stories? Если же единственный вопрос, который она задает, ты не против, если я пойду за кофе? Скорее всего, она планирует побег. Signals she's bored. She looks at her phone a lot. Maybe she's checking messages, or looking for an escape in the form of a friend. Her answers are one-word answers. Uh-huh, well, yeah, maybe. Phrases like that scream that her interest is somewhere far away. She doesn't ask questions. If you feel like you're pulling your weight and she just nods, it's not communication, it's your monologue. What to do if she's bored? Tip 1. Change the subject. If the conversation isn't going well, try a different approach. Ask something light and funny. What if you could choose any superpower? What would it be? Or, what's the weirdest dish you've ever tasted? Most importantly, don't start talking about how you were looking at your old photos yesterday. It won't liven up the conversation. Tip 2. End the conversation. If nothing else works, end the conversation with dignity. Say something like, thanks for the talk, it was a pleasure to chat, hope to see you again. It's better than continuing to try to make her laugh with anecdotes from her high school days. Why is it important to respond to her signals? Women appreciate being heard and understood. If you notice in time that the conversation is losing interest and correct your behavior, it shows your attentiveness and maturity. And yes, it's definitely better than dragging the conversation to the point where she's seriously thinking about how to call a cab without you knowing. Learn to read signals and adapt in time. This will help you not only to establish communication, but also to leave a good impression of yourself. Give us a like, subscribe to the Infoport Psychology channel and click the bell. In the next installment, we'll talk about how to maintain interest in the long term. Friends, a person with hobbies is always interesting. Hobbies and passions make you unique, make you stand out from the crowd and create the very spark that attracts attention. But a man without a hobby is like a white sheet of paper. Well, that may be nice, but it's boring. No one wants to listen for hours. Well, I don't usually do anything special, except occasionally stare at the wall. Why is a hobby a plus for you? They show that you are living life to the fullest. Passionate people are always interesting because they have a passion. It could be sports, art, collecting, or anything else. You automatically become a person who is interesting to spend time with. And if your main hobby is sitting on the couch, she'll think, well, we'll definitely be spending our evenings watching soap operas. Thanks, but I'll pass. Hobbies make you unique. Hobbies show your personality. If you love mountain hiking or have a passion for photography, it adds to your charm and opens up conversation topics. Even if your hobby is collecting wine corks, just pitch it right. I'm into winemaking, learning the intricacies of it. Not, I just collect corks to have them. They create topics for discussion. A hobby is not only your passion, but also an opportunity to engage it in interesting conversation. Instead of talking about the weather, you share your energy and generate interest. But please don't turn this into a lecture with subheadings, slideshows, and endless details. No one wants to know the origin story of each of your plugs. What is the right way to talk about your hobbies? Be brief but engaging. If you love cycling, talk about it lightly and enthusiastically. You know, I took a trip along the coast last week. It was amazing. The main thing, do not turn it into bragging. Well, I've already driven 1,000 kilometers, and that's just for June. Take an interest in her hobbies. Asking about her hobbies shows that not only do you want to talk about yourself, but you're open to her interests. Do you love nature too? Where would you like to visit? If her hobby is knitting, don't start with, "That's for grandmothers, right?" You risk ending the conversation very quickly. Don't be afraid to be sincere. If your hobby seems unusual to you, present it with humor. "Yes, I collect miniature figurines. I know it sounds weird, but it helps me relax and get creative." You just shouldn't say, "This is my army, and one day it will conquer the world." She may not appreciate your creativity. Why is it important to take an interest in her hobbies? Women appreciate men who take a genuine interest in their lives. When you ask about her hobbies, it shows that you want to get to know her better, not just wait for your turn to tell her about yourself. And yes, if her hobby is yoga, don't start with, "Oh, isn't that when everyone sits in weird poses?" That's not a compliment, that's a disaster. Develop your hobbies, be sincere and open. Share your interests, but don't forget to ask about hers. This will make you not only interesting, but also an attentive interlocutor. Put a like, subscribe to the channel InFaPort Psychology, and click on the bell. In the next part, we will tell you how to avoid games in relationships and build them on sincerity. Ease is the magic that makes communication pleasant and relaxed. With such a man, a woman feels at ease, as if she is drinking coffee in a cozy cafe, not taking an exam in front of a committee. This is exactly what creates a comfortable atmosphere where she doesn't need to be perfect or look for the right answers. And yes, if you start a conversation with, "How do you feel about global warming?" or "What are your main goals in life?" don't be surprised that she'll suddenly bring up a very important meeting. Why is lightness important? Lightness in communication shows that you are confident but not tense. It's like a message. "Hey, I'm fun to be with, relax and be yourself." If your communication style is heavy monologues about the meaning of life, she's likely to think, "Hey, I just wanted to talk, not save the world." Mistakes that ruin the ease of communication. Too serious topics in the beginning. Starting with a discussion of politics, philosophy, or past relationships is a bad idea. Hardly anyone wants to get into a debate on the first date. If you ask, "What do you think awaits humanity in 50 years? Prepare for the answer, "I don't care, but I know for a fact that I won't be here in 5 minutes." Over-joking. Humor is great, but if you joke non-stop, the conversation turns into a comedy show where she's a spectator, not a participant. Remember, you're not at a stand-up casting call, so a little restraint won't hurt. Overconfidence. If you start off with phrases like, "You were probably waiting for me to come over, weren't you?" it doesn't sound like levity, but rather an attempt to demonstrate your self-centeredness. How do you keep your communication easy? Start with a simple topic. Discuss something neutral and unobtrusive. Music, movies, travel. This creates a pleasant and relaxed atmosphere. Most importantly, don't start with, "I'm just going to say right off the bat that I hate melodramas. They're useless." Her favorite movie may turn out to be exactly a melodrama. Smile and make appropriate jokes. A light, kind joke can break the tension in any situation. For example, "Be honest, how often do you tell the barista your craziest orders? Or am I the only one who likes a vanilla cinnamon latte?" But please don't try to make jokes about her appearance. The phrase, "You're so tall you can probably see everyone from above," is unlikely to provoke laughter. Take an interest in her opinion. Ask questions that will give her a chance to open up. What's the funniest thing that's happened to you lately? Just don't go overboard with the details of your questions. Tell me about every funny situation you've had since kindergarten is too much. Why does it work? Lightness helps establish trust. She feels she can be herself with you without fear of judgment. This is relaxing, creates a positive attitude, and makes your communication enjoyable for both of you. And yes, easygoing doesn't mean being totally carefree. The phrase, "I don't care about anything at all," is more likely to make her think you're too relaxed to be interesting. Learn to keep a balance between humor and meaningfulness. Keep it light, be interested in her opinion, and your communication will be natural and memorable. Put a like, subscribe to the channel Infoport Psychology, and click on the bell. In the next part, we will tell you how to maintain interest after the first acquaintance. Friends, tone of voice is an imperceptible tool that can either get your attention or help the person you're talking to dream of earplugs. It's not only what you say, but how you say it. A voice that is too loud can scare you, and a monotone voice can put you to sleep faster than an economics lecture. If your tone of announcement at the train station or siren reminds you of an ambulance, you'll still get away with it, or rather, ignored. Why is tone of voice so important? It forms a first impression. You can be the most interesting person in the room, but if your voice sounds stressed or irritable, there's less chance of holding back. Imagine you are speaking with a menacing boss tone. She may think, "What did I do wrong? Why is he scolding me?" It conveys confidence. A calm, confident voice says, "I know what I'm talking about, and it's a pleasure to talk to you." A shaky or hurried voice, on the other hand, sounds like an alarm. This means you are sending the message, "Help! I don't know what to say, but I need to say something." It creates a comfortable atmosphere. A kind and relaxed tone helps her feel at ease. It is such an invitation. Relax. It's easy with me. If, however, your narrator's tone of voice reminds you of disaster, comfort is unlikely to arise. Mistakes worth jeopardizing. Too loud a voice. If you sound like you're trying to shout over the crowd, it creates tension. No one wants to feel like they're at a rock concert, especially over their morning coffee. She may feel like you're telling your plans to the whole street in the evening. Monotony. If your voice sounds like you're reading an audiobook to children, it's soporific. The most interesting narration on the outside effect if it sounds like a slow drumbeat. A monotone voice in communication is like a boring movie. You can fall asleep without even noticing. Sharpness. Sharp intonations make your voice aggressive, even if you are talking about something pleasant. For example, "Hi, how are you?" can sound like an order if you add too much tension. She responds, "Of course," but mentally she's already picking up a way to drop the conversation. How do you speak to make your voice appealing? Keep a relaxed pace. Don't rush or swallow your words. This will help you speak confidently and naturally. If you talk so fast that she doesn't have time to realize what's going on, don't be surprised by her dazed look. Add goodwill. A slight smile in your voice makes communication pleasant. Even if you are discussing neutral topics, it creates a positive attitude. But a tone that sounds like, "All right, I'm telling you," is more likely to spoil the impression than improve it. Listen to how you sound. Practice recording your voice to see what needs to be tweaked. Yes, you have to listen to yourself. It can be awkward, but it can be helpful. Why it works. The tone of voice is what a girl will remember even more than the words themselves. When your voice sounds confident, friendly, and relaxed, you create an atmosphere where you want to communicate. And yes, with a pleasant voice, you have a better chance of staying in her memory as that interesting guy, rather than the one who sounded like he was being interrogated. Work on your voice, friends. Find your perfect tone, friendly, confident, and relaxed. Not only will it make you more attractive, but it will also add confidence. Give us a like, subscribe to the Infoport Psychology channel, and click the bell. In this installment, we are committed to maintaining interest and building deep relationships. Friends, insurance is a classic. You see a girl you like, you think about how to approach her, you go through every possible setup in your head, and in the end, nothing. You just walk on by, seeing as you're going in a completely different direction. What about her? She probably didn't even realize she was part of your inner drama. And yes, if you're standing there, nervously wringing your hands while watching her from afar, it won't work. It's more like casting an extra in a movie about watchers. Why does insurance confront obstacles? You think of worst-case scenarios. Your brain starts painting pictures. She'll turn away rudely, laugh, or say something hurtful. But more often than not, the deeper thing that can happen in the presentation of life is her short, "Sorry, I'm not interested." And in your head it sounds like you're the most uninteresting and stupid person on the planet. You focus on the outcome rather than the process. Instead of just picking up the conversation, you immediately evaluate, what if she sends me a message? That's a failure. It's like me being afraid to make scrambled eggs because suddenly it doesn't have the perfect shape. Well, at most, it'll look weird, but it's still scrambled eggs. How do you overcome fear? Focus on the action, not the outcome. Instead of thinking about whether or not she'll like you, think, what do I have to lose by just saying hi? It's one word, not an apartment purchase agreement, not an oath of allegiance, it's just the beginning of a conversation. Really, you don't apply for a job with a 3-stage interview. You're just networking. Don't take rejection personally. If she doesn't want to continue the conversation, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you're not her type. After all, you don't get mad at apples if you like orange better, do you? Start simple. Instead of simple speeches or cool preparations, start traditionally. Hi, I noticed you and I wanted to meet you and chat with you, if that's okay. Most importantly, don't start with the phrase, "Do you believe in fate? I think we were destined to meet." That would scare her rather than pique her interest. Why is it always a win-win to approach first? When you make the first move, you show confidence. Even if the conversation doesn't go any further, you've already done what most people are afraid to do. It's not a failure, it's a victory over yourself. And yes, going first is like playing the lottery. Even if you don't win, at least you tried. And those who don't buy a ticket will definitely never win. Mistakes worth jeopardizing. Long deliberation. The longer you think, the more reasons you come up with for not approaching. You've already lost if you've already decided. Maybe she'll show up in the same place again tomorrow. Complicated phrases. You don't have to be super clever. Simplicity is your friend. If you start with something like, "I took a long time to decide before I approached you because you're so unusual," she'll think you're apologizing for your existence. Excessive tension. Smile. Be relaxed. If you are too tense, she will sense it and start to tense up. It's like explaining the rules of a game you don't fully understand yourself. Tip: how to practice. Talk to people you are not afraid of. Talk to the bartender, ask passers-by by the roadside, talk casually. Develop ease skills. The more often you communicate, the easier it becomes. Turn the approach into a game. For example, today, I'm going to approach 3 girls I like, just to socialize. And yes, if it doesn't work out after 3 tries, at least buy yourself something yummy. That's a win too. Remember that an approach is not a scary step, it's just a conversation starter. The more often you try to get to know someone, the easier it will be for you to tune in and act confident. Give us a like, subscribe to the Infoport Psychology channel, and click the bell. In the next part, we will discuss how to maintain interest after the first acquaintance. So, friends, today we figured out how to understand if a girl is interested in a conversation, why tone of voice is so important, and how to approach fear first. All these are important steps to successful and easy communication, but that's not all. In this installment, we're going to talk about how to maintain interest in a long-term relationship, why sincerity in a relationship is more important than games, and how to handle a fear situation to become more confident. Don't miss the continuation. To be informed, subscribe to the channel Infoport Psychology, like and click on the bell. In the meantime, in the comments, what's your biggest obstacle to approaching first? What phrases do you think are the best for starting a conversation? See you in the next video. We are ready to help you become a master communicator.